Scott and Lindsay were in Florida at the time, and I live in Maine, so we were not able to get together in person to discuss and make plans. Instead, we had to communicate by phone and by email. However, that was not all bad, because Lindsay and Scott wrote some very touching comments to me about one another. Here we go. Here is an example from Scott. Scott wrote, "A large part of my attraction to Lindsay stems from her upbringing and strong sense of Christian values, though I think she'd attribute it just generally to being a good person. I was instantly in awe of her compassion, acceptance, and genuine caring for everyone, much, much more so than myself. Further, I think there is most certainly a strong level of divine intervention that can lead to people so suited to one another. Something as simple as taking a long walk to the beach and being in awe of your companion, or having unreasonably long conversations full of laughter, is a wonderful and powerful thing." And Scott continued with this quick little anecdote. He said, "While Lindsay was in Kansas, I decided to drive out from California to see her on my way to Florida. What normally would be a painfully long trek turned into a quick 24-hour driving sprint, with me giddy with anticipation of seeing her." I'm only reading what you wrote, Scott. "Upon my arrival," he said, "at 11 p.m., I met her in the parking lot of the building where she was staying, both of us trembling with excitement. It was a wholly foreign, yet surreally comfortable experience for me that can best be described as magical. And when we finally kissed, it was nothing short of life-changing for me. That is about as good a job as I can do of describing the rightness of us that I feel. Another thing that impresses me is her ability to have faith that we will continue to work so well with one another despite the obvious struggles of Navy lifestyle, long deployments, moving around frequently, constantly having to find new jobs, etc. Similarly, I find it refreshing to have found someone that I can truly trust, a quality that I have found lacking in a great many people, but so very necessary for any worthwhile relationship." And then Scott wrote in conclusion, "In summary," he said, "number one, Lindsay is a fantastically caring, fun, gorgeous person who I am lucky enough to spend time with. Number two, we agree that forces at work far greater than ourselves put such a plan into motion for us to find one another. And three, and this is the best one, I'm looking forward to spending my life raising children with this dazzling woman." And Lindsay wrote, "The second time we met, I was at Scott's gorgeous Pebble Beach house for a New Year's party, and somehow he had cut his finger. In typical man fashion, he decided to quell the bleeding with a disgusting, filthy rag that had been laying around somewhere in the garage. Moderately horrified, but mostly amused. After all, this was the valedictorian of his high school and the guy who went to school at the Naval Academy and received special recognition from the president during his graduation ceremony, yet he can't manage to properly care for a boo-boo. I went to search for some appropriate first aid. I came back, wiped it off with a clean cloth, and put some ointment on it. As I wrapped the Band-Aid on his finger, I looked up at him and I thought, I love you. It was such a small gesture, but I touched his hand and realized the tenderness with which I regarded him. Again, one of those things I thought was limited to things like a movie of Cinderella. But as it turns out, sometimes the first time you touch someone's hand, you can actually tell. Scott, I want to share you with my family, I thought. I want to see you every day. I want to kiss you, and I want to tell you that I love you! Exclamation point. It's fun to have someone give me shivers, to feel my whole body tingle like I licked a giant battery. I'm just reading what they wrote. And to think about kissing you and get a pop rock sensation on my tongue. I keep replaying everything I've ever enjoyed with you and can't decide which parts I like most. I'm quite partial to your impressive wordplay and that I taught you avuncular. That pleases me into a big, silly smile. Or sitting with your arm around me and watching the waves, that is a perfect evening.